What's up, guys? Welcome back to Inside Out Precision Quarantine Edition. I'm at home today instead of the shop. We still have been working, but it sounds like we're going to get shut down here in the next day or so. So just playing it safe, being at home whenever I can be. But with all that being said, hopefully you got a lot of time to sit down and watch some videos. So today I'm going to be going over tuning myths, basically. So I see all sorts of crazy theories and messages from people about, you know, you can do this or should do this or don't do this. So today I'm going to kind of break down the four most common ones, myths basically, that I hear. And we're starting with companies tune their bows before they send them out to you. Now, I can't tell you how many messages I get from guys saying, hey, my pro shop won't change the top hats on my Matthews because they say they set those at the factory. I can guarantee you, I know this for a fact, that Matthews does not tune each of their bows. They don't know what draw length you're going to be shooting at. They don't know what arrow you're going to be shooting. They don't know what rest you're going to be using. Matthews puts the four most common size or commonly used top hats in the axle somewhere and sends them out the door. All they do is make sure that the bow is making poundage and that it's somewhat timed with the given mods that they put on it. So if your pro shop or bow technician is telling you that all you need to do is set your rest and center shot and time your bow and your bow is tuned, they're just being lazy or they just don't know very much about archery. I don't mean to sound mean like that, but it's kind of the truth. So when you get your bow, you're going to need to tune it. Now, that kind of brings me into number two, which is if my pro shop says they tuned my bow, it should be tuned for me, right? So I see a ton of people that say, hey, you know, I'm seeing some weird arrow kick, my groups aren't very tight, and I say, well, what'd it look like when you shot it through paper? And they say, oh, I haven't shot it through paper. The place I got it just said it was tuned when I got it. And my problem with this is that it's very hard for two people to get the same hole through paper. Unless your hand is almost the exact same shape, you have the exact same grip pressure, same draw length, all that stuff, I can shoot a perfect bullet hole, hand my bow to my buddy who's a good shooter as well, and it probably is not going to shoot the exact same hole through paper for him. So you need to be the one shooting your bow when you tune it. And again, I'm really surprised at how many times I hear people say, you know, oh, you know, they didn't even let me see it. They just took my bow in the back and they came back and said it was good to go. And what I'm guessing they're doing is literally taking it back, setting the center shot, timing the bow, and then saying it's tuned. And I don't know if that's because they're lazy or they just don't know or they don't want to take the time. You know, it's hard for me to believe that a place is moving so many bows per hour that they can't take 10 minutes to tune a bow with you. So ask if you can be the one to shoot it, or at least ask them if you can see them shoot it, because I've had bows where they say, yeah, they said it's tuned, and then they send me the bow to tune it, and it's ripping like 2 inches left or right or high or low, and there's no way that a little bit of stretching your cables is going to change your tune that much. So they just didn't do anything and said they did, probably charged them for it and sent them on their way. So be the one to tune your bow. It will not shoot the same hole for me, or at least very rarely will it shoot the same hole for me as it will for you. That's actually a disclaimer that you know, when I have people who send me their bows, I always take a picture of me tuning it and the hole that was shot, because sometimes they'll get the bow back and say, hey, you know, I tested it and I'm ripping like a 1/2 inch to the right. And usually it's because their grip is incorrect. So we work on that a little bit, and then usually it comes right in. But again, even if you have hands that are 3 times the size of mine, even if your hand's in the same position as mine, it's going to put a different pressure on that grip. So you always want to be the one to tune your bow if possible. Lots of places can get it close, but it may not be perfect. So that brings me to number 3. Cam lean is a horrible thing. You should not have any cam lean. This is so false that it just drives me absolutely crazy when people say this. So I have here, this is my old Hoyt Vulcan. I actually just really like this bow. That's why I've held on to it. It's got like the old crappy trophy ridge drop away on it, but it makes a good backup bow and it's kind of fun to shoot. But with bows with split yokes like this, they are designed to lean that cam right or left based on the hole I'm getting through paper. So I always start with it pretty close, meaning or pretty parallel to the string, meaning if I, you know, put an arrow shaft flat on the cam here, that arrow is going to run fairly parallel to the string. If it does cross, it should cross the string right at the knock point right here. So it's just a slight, on a left-handed bow, it's gonna be a slight right lean. On a right-handed bow, it usually starts with a slight left lean. Now, using Hoyt as an example, they're usually pretty close from the factory in terms of the right to left tear. Usually I'm not more than about a half to 3/4 of an inch right or left. But you don't need to move your rest out of center shot to change that. As long as this cam doesn't have severe lean, and by severe I mean, you know, incredible amount of lean, it's designed to do that. If I'm ripping tail right, I put a turn in my right yoke and out of my left yoke so I don't change the timing, and that leans the cam to the right, which then when I shoot leverages the string. You know, it's going to want to straighten out and it'll pull that string to the left, alleviating a right hand tear. Now you might be asking, how do I know if there's too much lean? How much lean is too much lean? Well, if you put this on a draw board so I always recommend doing this. Like if I have to put more than 2 in and 2 out, so if I have to put more than 2 in the right yoke and 2 out of the left, I always check this. Put it on the draw board and draw back, because if you lean it too far, what can happen is your draw stop here on your cam will actually miss your cable, or it'll click past your cable, and then your bow kind of locks up at full draw and it's really sketchy. So yes, there is such a thing as too much cam lean, but cam lean is totally normal. They're designed to be tuned like that. So I hear it all the time, like, hey, I was shooting, my buddy said my cam is leaning to the right, like what do I do? Leave it. As long as it's shooting a bullet hole, it doesn't matter. It's not hurting anything doing that. So cam timing or cam lean is not a bad thing as long as it's not too extreme. It's designed to be shot that way. So this brings us to number 4, which is again with the cams, that some bows shoot better or are designed to be shot with one cam advanced. And what I mean by advanced is when I put this on a draw board and draw this string back, these draw stops should come around and hit the cable at the exact same time, so that when I shoot, both the cams are in sync. One is not ahead of the other. Now, I remember a few years ago on Hoyts, especially with the target models, there's a lot of kind of, you know, amateur shooters out there saying, oh, you know, they only tune with the top cam open like a 1/4 of an inch. I can guarantee you the engineers at Hoyt did not design a bow that tuned with the top cam open a 1/4 of an inch. If you're getting that tail high tear or tail low tear when the cams are timed, there's something else going on. Advancing a cam is probably my last resort to taking a tear high or low out of the paper. I would rather put a tiller tune it, do like a half turn in my, if I'm ripping tail low, I'll do like a half turn in my top limb bolt. That's not gonna affect the timing, but it essentially raises my knock point a little bit. I would wanna do that before I would actually advance a cam, because then I get a spongy wall, I get more vibration, I get more noise. Everything suffers when you start getting your cams out of time. So no matter what cam you're shooting, unless it's a single cam, you need to time your cams, meaning when I draw the bow back, both of them come around and they touch at the exact same moment, because if one is ahead of the other when I shoot, that's gonna essentially pull my knock up or down, and that's where I get that tail high or tail low through paper. Now that's not to say that there are bows where even when the cam timing is still on, you might rip an inch high or an inch low, but there's a lot of other things you can do to correct that. Where the arrow's running through the burger hole, moving your knock point, moving your rest up or down. Like I said, tiller tuning. If you're shooting a limb-driven fall-away, you know, you can play with where the cord is attached to your limb. That will change your vertical tear. So there's a lot of things I can do besides advancing the cam. And it kind of drives me crazy when people say, you know, oh, that bow, it only shoots if the top cam is advanced. And it's like, they didn't spend, you know, a year and a half developing a bow that was designed to shoot with the top cam open. I'm sorry, it's just, it's not how it works. So anyway, those are some common myths that I hear about tuning. So again, go over them real quick. You know, companies do not tune their bows before they ship them. They will be close, but they will not be tuned exactly. You want to be the one tuning your bow. Just because your pro shop says they tuned it does not mean it's shooting a bullet hole for you. The third is that cam lean is a horrible thing. No, it is not. Cam lean is totally normal if you have a yoke system like this for tuning purposes. So don't freak out about it. And number 4, time your cams. It's your last option to advance a cam. Bows are not designed to shoot with one cam open or closed. So hopefully those, you know, might answer some questions you have if you've been, you know, at your pro shop and they've been telling you something, you think something sounds fishy. You know, just ask, can I be the one to shoot this? I want to be the one to shoot this. I'll pay you an extra $10 to be the one to shoot this. And they should let you. I don't see why they wouldn't, other than they're lazy, if they're lazy. So hit me up below in the comment section, or hit me up on Instagram if you have any more questions about any of this. You know, I'm not diving too much into how to tune bows on this, but just kind of some things to watch out for. And you know, these seem to be things that I hear all the time with subscribers on YouTube and on Instagram. So hope you're having fun at home. Well, I know nobody's having fun at home right now. Kind of crazy times out there, so stay safe. You know, good time to practice shooting your bow at home and watching some how-to videos. So as usual, keep them in the middle. Remember, precision is a decision, and I'll see you on the range.